Transmitting to you from Old Heart Radio.
Prepare to have your bones chilled and your hairs raised. It's the WacArnold's Brothers Podcast.
Welcome home.
There we go.
Gee, did you believe it? I couldn't. The WacArnold's Brothers, number 9. Brat coming at
Number
you.
9. Yeah.
This is not a joke. This Oh,
You're
my God,
always
dude.
doing something corny, I swear.
Dude. Well, you know, one of my favorite forms of dog is corn dog. So, you know, you gotta kind of keep up.
Oh.
Gee, bus. Yeah, man. Okay. Number 9, we have, honestly, this movie kind of caught me off guard. I'll say that. A 1986, like,
Yep.
still holds up kind of classic in a way. I think it still accomplished the mission. April Fool's Day.
Yeah.
Just right out the gate, David, what was your initial, your overall take? Like one out of 10. Like, what would you give this movie for what it accomplished in your mind? Like, how did
Like a 7, you know, it kind of had that feel of that time of these type of slasher type movies. But then, I did like it had I would say that it kind of built up what you thought the ending was going to be, and then it was completely something different, which I thought was really cool.
Absolutely, man. I'm with you. I'd probably give it 6, 7, just because it completely, I don't know. I think it still accomplished what it was originally wrote, made for. That ending twist, and it really, like you said, it kind of builds itself up, and you're pretty sure of how it's building up, and then you're like, whoa, okay, it's
I was wrong.
I was wrong. Yeah, dude, it was kind of cool, but I really did love the sort of intro. Well, not the kind of character introductions, but it really starts with Muffy's character introduction, I think, right?
Yep.
And there's it's like a birthday party or something. She's like a child, and I don't know what age she is, but she's gifted a fucking what do they call it? The
Jack in the Box.
Yeah, the Jack in the Box.
Yeah.
Go there, get some tacos, maybe get a cool scare or something. But she finishes that shit. She finishes that Jack in the Box, and something pops out. It's like an alien monster.
It's like a weird monster thing. Yeah.
It's like and
you hear all the people in the background laughing. It's like this joke.
Yeah. It's like all these adults are having this kind of wispy child's party, and they give this kid this prank Jack in the Box, and then I'll laugh at the kid once she gets scared, which admittedly would be kind of funny, but
yeah.
Either way,
because she's having flashbacks. She's cleaning the basement out, getting ready for this party, with all her friends who they introduced to, but she's cleaning out the basement and finds the Jack in the Box down there, and then it kind of has a little flashback scene. Yeah,
exactly. And she's carrying around a mannequin at some point in the basement, which and there's also,
which was actually kind of a good clue of what was gonna a little bit.
Yeah, no, it was exactly when reflecting on this movie, you're like, I could have seen these things.
Yeah,
a little bit.
Totally.
Well, also was this the moment where she props up the window in the basement also?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
that kind of whole sequence. Yeah, but they also do you're right. During all this, they kind of introduce the other characters, and one of them, who's the first one that was introduced? Which lady was it? It was Kit, right?
Well, Nikki.
And she's talking to she had the best one by far. It was so fucking great. It was she's talking, and then she's eventually says something I'm on the way to Covenant School, and I fuck on the first date.
First date, yeah.
And it was just this hard drop.
Because there's a character named Chaz who has a video camera, and he's kind of filming these people as they're heading to the ferry to go to this party. And yeah, you get introduced to her first, and then
Thomas Wilson's character, right? Thomas Wilson, that's his name, right? The guy
that plays Biff.
Yeah, the guy who plays Biff, aka Arch in this movie, but I'll probably call him Biff a little more.
There's also what were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say he totally like steals her line, which also like continues that play. But you know, and then there's like a couple more. You have Kit who gets introduced. You mentioned
she's played by Amy Steele, who is most famous for playing Ginny in Friday the 13th Part 2.
Fair enough. Which is also, you know, again, kind of like this, you know, in casting certain people, I don't think it's necessarily intentional, but in casting certain people, you sometimes, it helps you get kind of more into like that, like with this movie, like the slasher sort of movie, you know, you see maybe this is another slasher, like, you know, it's taking place at a party and on an island, you know, so yeah, you know, again, this movie.
So it ends up being. Yeah, what were you gonna say? Sorry, I cut you off.
Oh no, you're good.
So there's Harvey, Nikki, Rob, Skip, Nan, Chaz, Kit, and Arch.
Yeah. What a crew! What a crew!
What a group!
They're all kind of on the cusp of like they're all in college or on the cusp of graduating college. It sounds like. A couple times they, you know, sort of joke about their own privilege, which is sort of interesting. I was like, at least they're self-aware a little bit. But it's kind of interesting because it's sort of like this.
And Skip is introduced. God damn it! I keep doing that. Sorry, keep going.
No, you're good. How is Skip introduced again?
Well, Skip's like he says he's her cousin.
That's right.
Continue with what you were saying, because yeah.
Oh, I was just gonna say it's just you know, I think it's the weird like point in time of their life, you know, like what are we doing kind of thing. It's definitely I don't know, it's kind of like it's an interesting, not to think too deep into these characters, but it kind of helps you sort of like it disarms you a little bit when you think about them, so you kind of, at least for me, so but anyway,
it's a good way to put it.
So they eventually get like on this ferry, which is you know, who's the cat that was running late to the ferry? I can't remember his name.
That was Rob. That was Rob and Harvey.
That was Rob and Harv or Hal, as he wants to be called.
Hal, yeah. Hal for short.
Hal for short, because his parents call him Harv and he hates it. But they all get on the ferry eventually, and like, you know, there's this kind of whole sequence on the ferry where everybody's sort of breaking off and doing different things. Harv's trying to chat up Nikki. Arch and Skip are playing like a game, which appears to just be throwing a knife.
It's called Stretch.
Stretch,
Where they're like throwing a knife on the ground and the person has to stretch to pick it up without falling.
Oh, okay. I didn't catch that, but that makes sense. I didn't.
Yeah.
I was like, what are they doing? Just throwing a knife back and forth?
No.
A quick game of knifey catchy, you know, it's good for the soul. But so they're playing that game, and like I said, everybody else is kind of like broken off, just sort of chitter chatter happening.
Yeah.
And then there appears to be kind of like a scuffle almost between Arch and Skip that results in what, like Arch kind of just like, and it was a really quick scene, and that was kind of cool. It was like him just like, you know, Biff just kind of sort of throws the knife, the knife into Skip. Like, I don't want to play anymore, and it just goes straight into his gut.
He's like, go.
Yeah, and he's like, and he like falls
he
into
proceeds
the water.
to just just right into the water, and all these. So like two of the kids jump in, but then also the deckhand on the ferry jumps in, and it turns out to be this elaborate prank.
Yeah, exactly.
One of many to come. Yeah.
You find out, this is where you find out it's actually April Fool's Day, because eventually, you know, he gets out and they like, you know, they get him out and they like, he shows that he just had like a blood pack with the knife, and it was all fake, and Biff or Arch is like, April Fools or whatever.
Yeah.
But then the
But poor
deckhand-
poor Buck, yeah.
But yeah, poor Buck. He stays in the
Look.
water trying to be cool, man. And he's just,
Yeah,
he's like, I'll just
trying to
pass
like
me that rope."
lasso, because it shows him like a couple minutes earlier, like lassoing this rope on the boat, like over and
That's
over
right.
again.
That's what he was doing while everybody else was doing other stuff. He's just like off on the
Yeah.
other side, like throwing this rope, like lassoing the knot, like taking it back. A very solemn individual, really. But yeah, so he's in the water and he's just like, give me that rope or whatever. I'm just gonna like, swim alongside. And
Do it from here. Yeah.
I'll do it from here. I don't know
Which
why for
does
making him
not
sound
end
like
well.
such a doofus.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
so very like there's like they show him kind of struggling to get the rope knotted on the dock, and the boat's slowly closing in, and this entire time you're just like, oh dude, Buck's fucked, like he's gonna get he's gonna get squished. But
Yeah.
the sequence was actually fairly gnarly, dude. So like they
It was.
squish him, and they there's some screams, and they pull him out, and he's just screaming like bloody fucking murder, dude. He's like, ah! He's
His
just
eyes
oh my
like
God.
popped out. Like it was good. Prosthetic
good.
makeup. Yeah.
It was good, and it looked like almost half his body, especially his face, was just shredded. And like it was like this really quick moment where like he's screaming, all the college kids are freaking out, and like the sheriff or whatever is like, we gotta get him to shore, and like they throw him in a different boat and just jet off.
Yeah.
You know?
The sheriff just drives up on the boat and then gets out and lets the ferry driver get in and take that boat. Yeah, it was super quick. And the sheriff's like, the sheriff's basically, so Muffy comes to pick him up on a van, and sheriff explains, you damn kids and all this shit. And he's like, I want you guys to stay at this house, because if anything happens to Buck, I'm going to come get you guys.
Yeah, exactly. He just
You
tells
know,
him,
yeah.
he's like, stay the fuck. He's like, stay put, basically. Yeah, like, well, that's kind of funny because they doesn't sound like they have like a real like opportunity to leave. It sounds like there's like,
Because he takes the boat. Yeah.
he takes like Muffy's family's boat or whatever. Which, by the way, this whole thing is like taking place on an island, or like on an island where Muffy's rich family has like a mansion or something.
Yeah, exactly.
A summer mansion.
A summer house, yeah.
Yeah.
Because they arrive and it is this nice house, and there's also, you see later that there's multiple other like buildings by the house. There's like a little shed by the docks. There's another small little house off to the side of it. But
Yeah. And so and you're right, like they get there and it's a pretty decadent thing. I think they're going through parts of the house, they see like there's like a dining room that's like fully set and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It seems like a really nice pad. But I don't know, it just like there's just right from the get-go, Muffy has like this weird vibe to her.
yeah,
You know what I mean? And so you're just like immediately just sort of like, what's up? I don't know, what's up with her? Like, why did
Mhm.
she invite all these people here? I kind of liked the building murder mystery element that this movie sort of like
once it
starts
gets there,
having,
yeah, exactly.
you know what I mean? And like it really starts planting those seeds like that. But so like what they're just kind of like exploring the house.
And they all sit down.
That's
What's
the
up?
dinner scene, right?
Yeah, they all sit down for dinner, and then like at the dinner, these small little pranks ensue. There's like a whoopee cushion.
Yeah.
Arch sits in a fall-away chair,
Dude,
and then
that
at
was
the
good,
end,
though.
yeah,
It's like and he's just down. Yeah, and then
and then at the end they do like a champagne toast, and all the glasses are they're prank glasses, and they spill all over everybody.
yeah. So it's like this very sort of like,
And then it just goes-
pranky atmosphere.
Yeah, because after that it shows all the different characters kind of pile off to their rooms, but just like a bunch of other pranks happen at this point.
Mm-hmm.
There's like
another fall away chair.
there's
was it Rob
a
that-
sink that sprays.
Yeah. They find there's like a painting. This was like a cool one. They found like a painting, and it had like some eyes, moving. and
You see him moving, yeah.
yeah, and then they like pull the painting away, and it's like a cat clock right behind it or whatever. I was like, that's fucking dope, like creepy.
And then Harvey had a
Oh man, what's up?
trick cigar. The only prank I didn't think was funny, and it wasn't, I don't understand why they went with this, but it was like Arch is in his room and goes to look in the medicine cabinet, and there's like a spoon and a syringe, and I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I was like, it was like a bit strange. It's just sort of like,
Yeah, it wasn't very tasteful.
yeah, that one didn't seem much like pranky. That was the only like bad vibes one.
Yeah, I was like, why'd they do that?
Fucking weird. Fucking weird. But
Oh yeah, then Arch's doorknob also like breaks off when he's in his room.
yeah. And man. So yeah, and then they kind of like they start trying to settle in. There's like kind of, you know, there's lots of activity. Chaz and what's her face are like banging the night away.
Yeah, it's like a weird sex scene. Yeah.
There's like his legs like up on like one end, like there's crisscross. It looks like a human pretzel going on.
Yeah.
And then one of the things that we forgot to mention about the dinner scene is that Rob, his like sort of medical school drama gets uncovered, where his counselor tells him that he's not serious enough to get into medical school.
Yeah. True.
And so that like later that night when everybody's breaking away, him and goddamn it, I'm crisscrossing
Kit.
Hey, I was about to say Amy Steele because Amy Steele's such a badass name.
It is.
But anyway, so him and Kit are like laying in bed, and that was like the other prank that was kind of funny. It was like the, you know, light. He kept like trying to turn off the lamp, and then like another light would pop on in their room.
Yeah, that was cool. Yeah, it just kept like a chain of lights.
Yeah.
But so while all this stuff is going on, the only character that it hasn't really shown is Skip. And it turns out that he's drunk off his ass at this point. He's walking around alone, and he goes into this shed by the dock.
Hold on. First he stops. He's got a bit of reefer madness, and he like sniffs some like random plant, and then takes out his knife and like cuts off some leaves, and then like sneaks away to the dock.
Like he's gonna go roll a joint or something. Yeah, it was weird.
It's so fucking weird. But yeah.
But before he has a chance to, you know, maybe roll a joint, get a little, you know, harmless stonery going on.
Some tokage.
He gets attacked by, you just see it like he's in the shed and someone from behind grabs him. Yeah. And then it like cuts away from the scene. But
yeah, and there's definitely, it was kind of like a, you know, it felt like it wasn't really like a drown out scene, but there was also like a cat startle in there that kind of like, you know,
it's like build the suspense. Yeah,
build the suspense and stuff. But yeah, and then what? So it's like the morning, they're all kind of getting up.
They're like playing soccer.
Yeah, and everybody's sort of like starting to get active. They ask what's her name, Nan, if she wants to participate, and she's like, "No, I want to wait for Muffy."
Right.
Well, because she had a weird prank. That's right. She had a weird prank happen to her, right? It was like there was like a tape with a baby crying in her room. Yeah, which comes into play later a little bit. And you're like, and like at the time I was just like, what the fuck, dude? Like that's a weird one.
That was a weird one. It makes me think of like there's some really like, you know, do you ever read like creepypastas or Reddit No Sleep? They're just like fan-made horror, like people write their scary stories. There's a lot of ones that have scenarios where it's like a person in the woods at night and it's dark out and they hear like a child crying, but they go to investigate it and it's they don't find a child, they just find a recorder like that, and it's like a recording of a kid's, like that'd be such a fucking freaky scenario.
Fucking creepy, man. Yeah. And so that was like, yeah, I was like, that's kind of creepy. But so she ends up kind of like wanting to hang back and wait for Muffy, because she's like, Muffy's being fucking weird. And while the rest of the gang goes and like he starts goofing off.
Right.
This leads, I think, to them going down by the water.
Yeah, Kit and Rob do.
Yeah, they kind of sneak away into that same shed that Skip was in, and
Mhm.
you know, in classic sort of like camp slasher-esque fashion, like these two break away in the day, they're gonna get some, you know, afternoon or mid-morning nookie, whatever time of the day it is.
Yep.
And as they're getting it on, you know, they're laying down on the deck floor, and Kit looks over, and underneath her comes floating a dead, like, Skip.
A dead Skip, yeah.
So they
And he
freak
already
out.
looks like he's been dead for like a week, you know.
Yeah, that was he looked like, he was a bloated, floating body at that point, or at least that's what they will look like. And so they, you know, they freak out and they run back up and they're trying to like figure out if anybody's seen Skip, and lo and behold, nobody has.
Right. And some people think it's a prank, you know.
Exactly. Yeah. And that mentality kind of keeps for a little bit, you know. I think that
For a little bit, yeah.
keeps thinking like, well, are we just being pranked right now? And
Because
yeah.
exactly, because the guys go split up to look for him, and Arch ends up getting. He goes into the woods and he's looking, and his foot gets caught in a trap, and he gets hung upside down, and you see a person walk up and dispatch him, but it happens again where
like
when the other
dispatch him.
where the other two guys come back and everyone's like, oh, they're probably playing a prank on us, you know.
Exactly, man. That whole scene with Arch was kind of funny too, because he was like, you know, before he gets like exactly in the trap, there's like a snake on the ground.
Yeah.
And he keeps walking by it, and then he walks
Without
by
seeing
again,
it, yeah.
And then walks by again, and then boom, he gets trapped. And I kept thinking the big thing was like the snake was gonna like bite his face or something. Like
It
that.
almost did. Like, that would be fucking terrifying.
Dude, that would suck. Like not only
You're
are you
hung
just-
upside down. Yeah.
Yeah, you're just in the middle of the woods, hung upside down with some random person's trap, and then a snake comes and bites your fucking face.
Yeah.
Nightmare. But anyway, you're right. Like he gets dispatched, and so you don't, you know, you're just like, okay, man, he's apparently, maybe he's not with us anymore.
Right.
And you know, so shortly after this, Muffy, in this weird way,
She starts acting super weird.
she just starts like, yeah, like she kind of like just almost in this like tries to ignore the idea that the things are happening or whatever. She like,
And
you know, when everybody's
she even
talking
looks
about Arch.
different.
Yeah, or like her hair is kind of like crazy.
He's all disheveled. Yeah.
And so she suggests like making some tea or something, and like
hmm
they find out the water main's broken, and that they need to go.
But the phone doesn't dial out.
Oh, that's right. The phone doesn't dial out, so they can't reach the sheriff, and they don't have any water, and so they.
Yeah, the water, it's like sludge coming out of the sink.
Yeah. And so that becomes like, you know, quest for water. They need to go down to this well, and they send Nikki and Harv, aka Hal.
Yep. Yep.
And I couldn't quite pinpoint how like his like accent, but they were kind of like he was clearly like made to be sort of like the you know,
Like a country boy.
the country boy, and then this was the scene that he was like really showcased, you know, his country flair, because you know Nikki's kind of like razzing him a bit, and they're trying to figure out how to get the water out of the well, and then they find out like, you know, as he's working on it, the pitcher or the pail like that he has like falls down into the well, and so they have to go down and get it somehow.
There's a great line before that happens where because it's established at the beginning that Harvey kind of like, you know, she's sleeping with Chaz, but Harvey has a crush on her, and he says something where he's like, he says, fuck, I just had this written down. Oh, he goes, I would really like to plow your field.
So
But yeah, he
Farmer Oates, man.
He drops the bucket and she drops the flashlight. So they're like, well, one of us has to go down there.
Exactly. And shockingly, dude, I like Hal was just being a big weenie about it. Like I didn't think it was that big of a deal.
Yeah.
Especially after they found out that there was a ladder leading down
Rungs,
to the
yeah.
well, you know. Like, but he was just like, I ain't going down there, and shit. And so
Right.
Nikki ends up just sort of like taking charge, and she just kind of like starts climbing down the well. It's a little janky, the rungs, and then like, you know, once she gets
Yeah.
near the bottom, like I think one of them just completely snaps off, and she falls straight into the water, which looks gross anyway. and she's like freaking around, and that's when you find like some of those like all of a sudden some severed heads start popping up. One looks like arches, I think, and there's like another
one
like,
skips.
yeah, and there's like another body, and there's some like random lady or something like that.
That was Nan.
Oh, that was Nan. Oh
Yeah.
Shit, I didn't catch that.
Yeah, her whole body just rises to the surface, and you see that her throat was slit.
Oh man, that's right.
That'd be so fucked up,
That's right.
dude. Like, wells are always, especially later in the early 2000s with The Ring, where that made wells like even more fucking creepy. But could you imagine going into a well and finding 2 fucking decapitated heads?
Dude, it'd be gnarly. It reminds me of that scene reminded me of and not that it's like a great movie, but a shockingly all right movie, Disturbia with Shia LaBeouf.
Oh, that's a good. I like that movie.
Yeah, there's a lot of good like build up in that movie and shit, and like the end sequence when they would uncover like that dude's like basement lair where there's like all this like water and like dead bodies and shit, and this is like fucking nasty. Like that's what actually this reminded me of. I was like, and that's why I was like, oh, this is fucking gross. And anyway, so like this whole sequence is happening. There's like she's freaking out. There's like dead body bits everywhere, and Har finally fucking sacks up and starts climbing down the ladder
to save her. Yeah.
And and he's just like the entire time I was so frustrated because he just was like sitting at the top going, "Answer me!" I was like, "Do something, you fucking ass!" Like,
no shit.
And so he finally climbs the fuck down, and like another rung breaks, and like it's really janky, but he eventually gets her up, and they, but clearly very shaken up, like as anyone would be.
Yeah.
Because the next scene, she's just like clearly like she had like taken a shower, and Nikki was just like wrapped up and just like, and somebody brings like a
traumatized
water near her, and she's like, the water,
the water,
which I thought was maybe a bit much.
Yeah,
I hope you hydrate later, lady.
Because they go back to the house, and all the remaining teens are there, and Rob thinks that his mind instantly goes to Buck. And he thinks that Buck has came back to get revenge, for the prank gone awry. But they end up getting a phone call from he's a police officer, but they refer to him as the constable.
Yeah, Constable Porter.
And Constable Porter explains that it couldn't be Buck because he's still in the hospital. And he also mentions, I'm going to come. And I want you guys to look out when I shoot a flare gun, and that means I'm there. So watch out for me.
Yeah. He tells them, he instructs them to stay in the house together until, he signals them.
Because they start locking all the doors and locking all the windows.
Well, and he says something to Rob while they're on the phone, because Rob mentions Muffy and then something else.
Oh yeah.
And then he gets kind of weird, And so it was like, you're just sort of like, what the fuck? This is shit. Does Constable Porter know?
Yeah, because he basically says don't be alone with her, or don't trust her. Yeah.
Yeah. And this is when people start kind of looking at Muffy and being like, why has Muffy been acting kind of weird?
Exactly.
She does look sort of different. She's talking kind of weird and just acting strange. And this kind of leads to Nikki just having just saying fuck it, I'm just gonna fucking leave. And so there's a scene of her sort of frantically packing her bags and stuff,
because they decide, they're like, the group's like, well, we can let's stay in the house, we can stay within shouting distance, because it shows Rob and Kit go up to the attic, Harvey's on the stairs, and then Chaz and Nikki go to the room, and she starts packing her shit. She wants to leave.
So in classic fashion, they're told to stick together, and they kind of immediately split up.
Right.
And so Nikki and Chaz kind of have this back and forth scene where they're arguing about staying or going and what to do, and Chaz tries to sort of lighten her mood, which would be really what a hard fuck. I mean, she just fell down a well with some dead bodies in it. Not the time to try and get some. But he tries to make some lighten the mood, and he puts on these masks, and he's trying to joke about S&M characters and everything. And anyway, like Nikki doesn't really have it, so she kind of just like dips. And I can't remember if this happens before one of like the next, like before like the attic sequence, but you find Chaz's fate was probably the fucking like maybe not the gnarliest, but one of them.
Nikki leaves, but then she comes back like a minute or two later to grab something that she left. Yeah, and she finds Chaz.
And Chaz is like sitting there with like his little leather mask on, and he's like got his hand
still
over
on
over his dick, and he's just sort of like not saying anything. So she's just kind of talking at him, and then she realizes like what.
Which also happens a lot in horror movies.
It does. And anyway, but this was a shocker. Was that like she moves his hands. And like, boom! There's just like, presumably like a severed nub of where his dick must have been.
Yeah.
Like when I was watching this, I was just like, what the fuck? 86 going.
Like poor. That's a shitty way to die.
That's a shitty way to die. Bleed out.
And then she immediately gets attacked after that. The person was hiding behind a door, and jumps out, and then you see her get attacked, but it doesn't show anything after that. It cuts to Rob and Kit up in the attic, and there's a really cool scene that happens here.
Yeah, and there's like they find sort of like this collection of dolls hanging
from earlier.
attic.
Yeah,
and I don't know if was there a doll for each one of them?
Yeah, there was a couple dolls that were sitting there.
Yeah,
and then there was this it was really cool. It was a bowl of water with 2 doll heads in it, and then like a dead doll, obviously mirroring what happened in the well earlier.
Yeah, that's right. And so
it was cool.
Yeah, it just like completely, you were just sort of like, whoa, like this is like, I don't know, I feel like this was like the planning space, and then but they also see while they're out there, they see the flare go off. And so this combination of like the flare going off and like this like what the fuck is all this makes them just like bolt from the attic, and that's when they discover Nikki and Chaz in the room.
And then they also find Harvey. He's hanging from the ceiling. He's hanging from the ceiling. He's dead too. You think? You know what I mean?
Yeah, Harv's dead. Yeah, okay, and then this just becomes like Kit and Rob are like the last ones then at this point, right? Except for Buffy. But they also what is it? Like they start running, they're trying to get to the motorboat. And they meet, I can't remember, do they? No, they don't actually meet up with Constable Porter. It's like
they don't.
No. What happens when they run down to the dock? I can't remember.
Because they go down to the dock, and he's not there, but they find there's a boat, and they find this note that's in the like the cockpit of the boat, and it's like a note explaining that a character, because Muffy's last name is St. John, and it's explaining that there's this person with the last name of St. John that has been in a mental hospital, and this person is dangerous, and they think they're talking about Muffy, so they're like, well, let's get out of here, but there's no keys to the boat, so they decided to go back to the house to get the keys to the boat.
That's right. And it's so they're going up to the house to get the keys to the boat. That's when they go through the cellar window, right? They find that it's open, and they're like, that's our way in, or whatever.
That's our way in. Yeah, all the doors were closed and locked or something, so they snuck into the basement that was opened at the beginning by Muffy.
Yeah, and that's when you see like some like blood, you see like some clothes and stuff, and you're sort of like, okay, there's something been going on down here.
Right.
And then you see that's right. They the measuring wall. Or whatever. They you see Muffy and Buffy different
and Buffy,
heights on the wall. Which, by the way, who names their kids Muffy and
Buffy? Yeah. And then
rich people. That's who.
Kit also remembers that she saw a picture earlier of 2 young kids. So this is where they they think that Muffy has this twin sister named Buffy, and she's maybe the one that's killing it. And then right after that, they find Muffy's body, or they find her head essentially.
Yeah, they like behind like it was behind the painting from earlier.
Yeah,
Out
yeah.
of their room. That's right. Yeah, and that was another good like prosthetic. It was just like.
It was gruesome looking. Yeah.
Yeah, and then this leads to like the whole next like big chase sequence where like they think Muffy's Buffy's like after them like. And,
Yeah, she's chasing them, and
they're chasing throughout the house. And at one point, and that's when they get split up.
yeah, Rob gets like locked in another room,
He's just in there screaming like, "Help!" Like. Get
and then this is where the whole like great reveal is about to happen.
It was so fucking dope, dude. Like, okay, so Muffy, aka Buffy, aka Muffy, was running around chasing
With this big ass fucking knife. Yeah.
This huge little thing. I was like, what the fuck is this? Like, not subtle at all, but she's like trying to like slash at her, and like eventually, Kit basically makes it back into the dining room area. She like runs through the glass door, and then all of our friends are just sitting there, like hanging the fuck out.
Yep. Even the
Bub's
sheriff,
The ferryman's
all of them.
there.
Yeah. The
Like-
ferryman. Yeah.
Like everybody, and then like, and I was just like, what the fuck, dude, is this real? Like I was so
Like, cause I thought that maybe like she had gone through so much and she was so like traumatic from everything that like, what is real here? You know what I mean? You don't know what's going on.
exactly, dude, that's exactly where I was at between this whole thing. That's why I think this movie really accomplished like what it was trying to do, is because like at that moment I was like, dude, she's snapped. Like now she's like back in the glory days with all of her friends, and she's about to get killed. And then she turns around and like Buffy, aka Muffy, aka Buffy, or no, Muffy, anyway, Buffy is there with her big fake bread knife, and she like collapses it into her hand.
Yeah.
And so you're like, oh shit, is this fake? And then eventually Rob gets let out, and like the whole same thing. He got like runs into the room, and it's just sort of like boom.
And Buck shows that the makeup is like prosthetic, and then you learn.
That's right. He's like about to get him, and he peels it off and like places it on his head, on Rob's face.
Because then we learn Muffy goes and explains this big elaborate thing where this is all a prank. She could only inherit the house if she could prove like that she could do something with it or something. So she has this idea where she wants to turn it into a bed and breakfast, but with a murder mystery twist. And this was the initial run. And then she goes to explain that like the boat driver is her cousin or whatever, and he is a special effects makeup artist and all this shit.
Yeah,
It's actually
dude,
pretty cool.
It was actually really cool because I like and basically big April Fool's Day. That was like
What a
that was
fucked
cool
up
re-
prank.
But seriously though, like what a wild prank to pull on your friends. But yeah, like the way they were going down, and like the guy with like like you were saying, her actual cousin who was like the prosthetics guy, just pulls out like one of the fake severed heads and like tosses it to somebody, and I was like, damn dude, like what a smart fucking idea though, in a way. Like, how do I prove that this can be profitable? I don't want to just do a bed and breakfast. That'd be fucking boring. Like,
Right.
murder mystery. Like, although it's not really like a murder mystery, it's more like serial killer, run for your life, hope you get off the island, fun stay.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man, I thought it was really clever. And like like I said, like that reveal moment still got me. And
Yeah, because like I said, they're building it up to where you think it's going to be her twin sister or whatever, and then it's going to explain a reason why she is so psychotic, because they plant seeds earlier with some like abortion storyline and all this other stuff. But then it just completely flips you on your head and has this complete shock ending. You're like, what the fuck?
yeah, dude, it really does. And, like, so tip of the hat, because this actually was cool. But like all the it wasn't like, I don't know, it was just it really just like does a good job selling you, because it falls right into that sort of, it feels like a slasher movie,
Yeah.
and it does, and so like they I feel like they kind of like followed certain formulaic things just to help like build that suspense really well.
Mhm.
So
Totally.
yeah, shockingly cool movie. Ridiculous types of kills though. Like the whole Chaz dick kill was ridiculous. Like, you know,
Poor guy. Yeah.
and I did love the Reefer Madness scene where he just like, I kept watching that thinking like, this guy's gonna go try and like, this is 86 for you. This guy cuts off a couple of leaves of marijuana and he's like, I could smoke this.
It's not even like actual like a bud, you know. It was just leaves. Yeah.
It's just like a fucking leaf off of something. You're just like, all right. But yeah, this movie was really fun. Actually, it was just a really fun movie with some ridiculous moments as well as some like.
It was entertaining.
It
Yeah.
was that really cool twist. I think M. Night Shyamalan watched this movie and that's what inspired him.
Maybe.
A hard maybe.
Because I'm trying to think of like, because at that time, you know, there wasn't, and I think that's why, because this movie kind of has, you know, mixed reviews. Like some people didn't really like the ending. I think if you were to go back and revisit it now, like for its time, that was such like a crazy thing to do. That wasn't being done. That twist, complete shock ending. Like,
Yeah.
Okay, besides Sleepaway Camp, which arguably has one of the most shocking, you're not going to see this coming twist endings, like this one was one of those movies.
Yeah.
So
Nah, that's a good point, man. I think you're right. Like at the time, people were expecting a slasher movie, you know?
yeah,
And yeah, I could see that kind of like not resonating well with people. But
exactly.
yeah, here in 2021, where it's like you're almost like you almost go into most movies with this expectation of a twist.
Yeah.
It was like you kind of like, not that I was like, you know, I thought the when watching this movie, I thought the twist was supposed to be that like, oh, they're here to die, you know,
Mhm.
like, and so like to have that like secondary twist was just actually kind of like,
It was
cool.
good. Yeah.
I think that's why it played really well. But
Yeah.
I could see your point. Like, yeah, I don't think people were expecting it. Probably.
No, not at all.
And that's fucking cool. I would definitely recommend the hot dogs watch this movie if they're just looking for a fun
Yeah,
pretty
it
quick
is a fun.
watch. I just sat down, popped
it goes by
on,
quick. Yeah.
and it went by pretty quick, you know.
Yeah, there's not really any slow parts, you know. It just kind of gets going, and
Yeah.
next
Yeah, it
thing
does.
you know, that
It does. Like you're right. Like it just starts with the character introductions, and then like boom, 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 everything starts unfolding, which is kind of fun.
yeah.
Do we have any speculation for next week? I've been kind of dancing around some ideas.
What are you thinking?
I still want to get down on one of those Wishmaster movies because they look stupid.
Ooh,
But
yeah, yeah.
I mean, but I'm also like
They're ridiculous.
I have a couple saved up in the queue. But I just actually recently also watched. Have you checked out any of Netflix's Fear Street movies yet?
I watched I forgot that the third one came out this weekend. I watched the first two. I still need to watch the third one.
I just finished up the second one last night. Me and Nadine watched
Yeah.
it. They're shockingly cool, man. Like I you know, like they're, I don't know, like I'm kind of into them. I think the
I really
story goes
enjoyed the
pretty
first
hard,
one.
so-
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. Yeah,
And the second one, dude, like this, and the second one was like, I don't know, you knew, like it was kind of different than the first, and like you knew that something was gonna, you know, bad was obviously happening or gonna happen.
well, yeah.
But like, I don't know.
They're
like,
entertaining.
they really like, yeah, it just in like a really quick like boom boom, these two movies really built this like interesting like world to dive into, you know, like
Mhm.
almost akin to like Stranger Things in a way, where there's like
Okay. Yeah.
you know, this like sort of just like pocket small town where this weird shit is just happening. But
Exactly.
I'm really interested to find out in the third one, if there's any connection between like, what's that, like the really nice town, Sunnyvale or whatever, Sunnyvale, yeah.
And Shady Side. Yeah.
And so I'm really wondering if like, I swear, like I think somebody from Sunnyvale at some point took that witch's skeleton and like maybe moved it or tried to keep it you know.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
So
yeah.
that their town always prospered. I'm just really I'm interested. To
That's
see
a
how they,
cool idea. Yeah. See how they wrap it up. Yeah.
Exactly. Like, you know, I'm really interested to see how they wrap it up. I'm glad you've watched them too, because I've been meaning to ask you about them.
Yeah, I was thoroughly happy with the first two. I need to watch the third one.
Have you?
I know that. So obviously, those are good movies. We're not going to talk about those. But
Yeah, exactly.
what were you going to say though?
Oh, I was just gonna say the other quick like random like sort of current horror thing I really want to catch up on though is the first episode of American Horror Stories. Did you watch that?
Yeah, I watched the first two are like a 2-part episode, and I watched them. Yeah, I liked it.
Yeah. Okay.
I liked it. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Because it went like they're from here on out they're each going to be different episodes, but the first two brought us back to the murder house, which was really cool.
Yeah. Oh man, cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely want to watch those ones.
Check them out. Yeah.
It's probably the next on the agenda.
There you go.
All right, my dude. We'll wrap up episode 9.
We'll figure it out.
You got to go out there and watch that crazy April Fool's Day twist, and we'll figure out a movie for next time for sure.
Yeah, of course.
Oh man. All right. Well.
All right. Until next time.
We'll see you there.